Ethan sat alone in his room, surrounded by wires, blinking lights, and half-finished gadgets. The hum of the colony's energy grid was constant, but tonight it seemed weaker, flickering in subtle rhythms that made him uneasy. He rubbed his eyes and stared at the small control panel in front of him. He had been trying to fix the shields protecting the colony from the occasional meteor showers. But the system refused to respond properly. No matter what he tried, the energy readings fluctuated in unpredictable ways. He leaned back in his chair and sighed. The colony leaders had warned him that failure was not an option. If the energy shields went down, even for a few hours, the colony could be devastated. Ethan had never felt pressure like this before, and it was weighing heavily on him. Still, he knew he had to keep trying. Panic never solved anything. Only solutions did. The door slid open suddenly, making him jump. A figure walked in, moving with a confidence that was almost startling. She was not human. Her skin shimmered faintly under the dim light, changing colors in patterns he couldn't immediately understand. Her eyes were large, bright, and full of curiosity. She paused in the middle of the room and looked around with a wide, cheerful smile. Then, almost theatrically, she dropped the thick exploration suit she had been wearing, letting it fall in a neat pile on the floor. Beneath it, she wore a luminescent uniform that glowed softly in shades of blue and green. Ethan blinked. He had read about alien cultures, but he had never interacted closely with one before. And yet, here she was, standing in his room without so much as a warning, smiling as if it was the most natural thing in the universe. He felt a mixture of surprise and awkwardness, but he quickly reminded himself that she meant no harm. This was just her way of greeting, or so it seemed. "Hello," she said, her voice musical, almost like a song, though simple enough for him to understand. "I am Lyra. I came to find the human engineer." Ethan cleared his throat, still a little unsure of how to respond. "I'm Ethan," he said finally. You just walked in. Normally, people knock." Lyra tilted her head, and the colors of her skin shifted slightly, almost like an expression of amusement. "In my culture, doors are meant to be opened freely. Knocking is unnecessary, but if it comforts you, I will try." Ethan chuckled nervously. "Well, I suppose that's fair." He motioned for her to come closer. "What brings you here? It must be important if you traveled all this way." Lyra's smile widened. "Yes. My homeworld's energy core is failing. We tried every solution, but none worked. The data said a human engineer could help us. So I came." Ethan's eyes widened. The colony's energy shields were his responsibility. Yes. But fixing an alien planet's energy core? That was far beyond anything he had imagined. Yet the gleam in Lyra's eyes, full of hope and determination, made it impossible to say no. He gestured to the pile of glowing devices on his desk. "Show me what you've got. Then, maybe we can figure it out together. Maybe we can figure it out together." Lyra carefully retrieved a floating holographic device from her uniform. The device flickered to life, projecting a three-dimensional map of her home planet's energy core. Ethan leaned closer, examining the intricate patterns of light and energy flowing through the planet. He had never seen anything like it. Unlike human technology, which relied on circuits, engines, and mechanical parts, this energy seemed almost alive, moving with a rhythm that was both natural and alien. "The core is unstable," Lyra explained. "It needs a stabilizer, but the technology we use is not compatible with our current system. I thought, maybe you could help." Ethan rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He understood complex human systems, but alien energy? It was unlike anything he had studied. Yet there was a logic here. a pattern in the chaos that his mind began to pick up on. He nodded, slowly. I think I can see a solution, or at least a starting point. But I will need more details about your energy conductors and how they interact with your planetary matrix. Lyra's eyes brightened. I can show you everything. Please follow me. Without waiting for a reply, she gestured for Ethan to move to the corner of the room, where she had several small, glowing containers filled with tools, wires, and components he had never seen before. She began explaining, pointing to the colors of the wires, the pulsating crystals, and the way the energy flowed between them. Ethan listened carefully, occasionally reaching out to adjust a component or test a connection. The teamwork was effortless, despite their differences. Her alien intuition, combined with his human logic, created an almost immediate synergy. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Ethan worked tirelessly, occasionally asking questions about the alien technology, while Lyra guided him with patience and enthusiasm. She laughed when he misinterpreted a floating diagram, and he smiled at her infectious curiosity. The hum of the colony's failing energy grid was a constant reminder that time was running out. But together, they managed small successes, stabilizing minor energy channels one by one. At one point, a sudden surge in the colony's energy grid caused lights to flicker and alarms to beep. Ethan jumped back, startled, while Lyra floated gracefully toward the panel. Her skin changed to a bright yellow, a sign Ethan assumed indicated alertness. It is okay, she said, touching a glowing crystal with delicate fingers. The surge passed, and the lights returned to a steady hum. Ethan exhaled in relief. You make it look easy, he said, admiration creeping into his voice. Lyra laughed, a sound like chimes in the wind. Experience matters. But today, you are learning my ways too. That makes us partners. By the time the colony's artificial sun began to rise, the two of them had made remarkable progress. Some of the most unstable channels were now functioning at half capacity, a huge achievement considering the initial chaos. Ethan leaned back in his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He had never felt so alive, so engaged in solving a problem that was bigger than anything he had faced before. Lyra floated to his side, her eyes shining. Tomorrow, we will finish the stabilization. But you have done well today, human. Your methods are ingenious. Ethan smiled, feeling a surge of pride. And you're brilliant, Lyra. I never thought I'd work with an alien technology like this, but it's exciting. I've learned a lot. Lyra's skin shifted to a gentle green, a color Ethan now understood as a sign of happiness. We will save both worlds, she said confidently. Together, humans and aliens, engineers and explorers, nothing can stop us if we continue like this. Ethan looked around his cluttered room, at the wires, blinking lights, and floating devices. What had started as a normal night of work had turned into an incredible adventure. He had never imagined that a simple night at his desk could become a partnership that might change two worlds. Outside, the colony stirred to life. Workers moved through the streets, ships hummed in the docking bays, and somewhere, far beyond the stars, Lyra's people relied on the energy that Ethan and Lyra were beginning to restore. The responsibility weighed heavily, but it was also thrilling. For the first time, Ethan realized that helping wasn't just about fixing machines or completing projects. It was about connecting with others, understanding their perspectives, and combining strengths in ways that no single person or species could do alone. Lyra's bright smile lingered in his mind as she floated near the window, gazing at the stars. Ethan wondered if she understood how inspiring her courage was. Somehow, in her own cheerful, fearless way, she reminded him that even in the darkest moments, solutions could be found. One only had to look beyond fear, beyond the familiar, and embrace the unexpected. The night ended quietly, but the work was far from over. Ethan lay down briefly, eyes drifting shut, while Lyra prepared more holographic schematics. Tomorrow, they would face the final challenge. But for now, the first part of their journey had been a success. Two worlds, so different, had found common ground through ingenuity, curiosity, and trust. And that, Ethan realized, was the true power of collaboration. He drifted off to sleep with a sense of anticipation and excitement he had never felt before. Tomorrow would be another day of discovery, of problem-solving, and of bridging the gap between species. For Ethan and Lyra, the impossible was just the beginning. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the large windows of Ethan's room, casting long shadows across the cluttered workbench. Ethan had barely slept, his mind buzzing with possibilities and strategies. Lyra was already awake, floating near the center of the room, her luminescent skin shifting through gentle shades of green and blue. She was reviewing the holographic schematics she had prepared last night, adjusting connections and overlaying new energy flow patterns. Ethan stretched and rubbed his eyes, smiling at her diligent focus. "You really don't sleep much, do you?" he asked, half amused, half impressed. Lyra tilted her head, colors flickering warmly. "Sleep is less necessary for me. I can rest in short intervals, but time is important. We must finish before the planetary energy core reaches full instability." Ethan nodded. "Right, let's get to work." They spent the morning testing their previous stabilizations. The minor channels they had repaired the night before were holding steady, but the core's main conduits remained volatile. Every time they thought they had a solution, a spike of energy would disrupt the readings. The challenge was immense, but both Ethan and Lyra approached it with focus and determination. As they worked, they began to notice patterns they hadn't seen before. The energy surges seemed to correspond to fluctuations in the planet's natural rotation and the alignment of nearby moons. Ethan adjusted his instruments to compensate, while Lyra translated her data into holographic overlays that showed how the alien core reacted to gravitational forces. Together, they created a combined model that gave them a clearer understanding of the problem. During a brief break, Ethan watched Lyra float near a window, her glowing uniform reflecting on the glass. He was fascinated by her culture and technology, but even more by her attitude. She faced this massive challenge with joy and curiosity, never complaining, never panicking. Ethan realized that this kind of optimism was something humans could learn from. "Do you ever get nervous?" he asked. Lyra's skin shifted to a soft yellow, the color he had come to recognize as thoughtful contemplation. "I do not feel fear, as humans do. But I feel concern. Concern drives me to act. Fear only slows you down." Ethan nodded slowly. He admired her perspective. "I think humans could use a bit of that sometimes." As afternoon approached, the challenges intensified. A sudden surge caused several panels to flicker violently, and Ethan almost tripped over one of Lyra's floating tools. She reacted instantly, touching the energy node and stabilizing it temporarily. "You are fast," Ethan said, catching his breath. Lyra smiled, colors shifting to a gentle green. "And you are clever. We make a good team." With renewed energy, they focused on the largest problem, the core's central energy conduit, which was unstable to the point of threatening a total collapse. Ethan examined the schematics while Lyra floated beside him, explaining how the alien energy flowed and interacted with their planetary matrix. "I think we can create a hybrid stabilizer," Ethan said after several hours of thought. "If we combine human engineering principles with your alien energy technology, we might be able to balance the flow." Lyra's eyes lit up. "Yes, that is exactly what is needed. But it will require precise timing and coordination. Any mistake could worsen the instability." They began assembling the stabilizer, a complex device that incorporated human circuits, alien energy crystals, and a series of timing regulators Ethan had designed. Every step required careful attention, Ethan adjusted the human components while Lyra manipulated the alien energy patterns, guiding the flow with her glowing fingertips. Hours turned into evening. The room was filled with soft humming from the stabilizer, the glow of the crystals reflecting off every surface. Ethan and Lyra moved in perfect sync, communicating silently at times, relying on gestures and subtle cues. The device began to hum steadily, signaling that the energy flow was becoming stable. Suddenly, a surge from the core caused the stabilizer to flicker. Ethan's heart raced as he quickly adjusted the timing regulator, while Lyra redirected the energy with precise movements. After tense moments, the hum returned to a smooth, steady rhythm. Both of them exhaled in relief. "It worked," Ethan whispered. He could hardly believe it. Lyra's glowing skin pulsed with excitement. "Yes. The core is stable. For now. Your ingenuity has saved my homeworld." Ethan felt a mix of pride and amazement. He had faced countless engineering challenges before, but nothing compared to this. And yet, with Lyra's guidance and trust, they had succeeded. After a moment of celebration, they realized the implications of their work. Not only had they stabilized the alien planet's energy core, but their methods could improve the colony's own systems. This partnership between human and alien technology was a breakthrough that could benefit both worlds. Lyra floated closer, holding a small, glowing token. "This is for you," she said. "A symbol of friendship and alliance. Humans and aliens together can achieve great things." Ethan accepted it, marveling at the intricate patterns of light within the token. Lyra's skin shimmered softly. "And I have learned from you. Your patience, creativity, and determination, they are unique. You remind me that collaboration can overcome any obstacle." They stood in silence for a moment, gazing at the stars outside the window. The colony was safe, Lyra's planet was stable, and their teamwork had proven that differences could be strengths rather than obstacles. As night fell, Ethan looked around his cluttered room, now filled with glowing devices and repaired circuits. What had started as a normal night of work had turned into an adventure that would be remembered for generations. He realized that sometimes the greatest challenges led to the most extraordinary discoveries and friendships. Lyra hovered near the door, preparing to leave. "I must return to my people," she said softly. "But I will never forget this experience. We have shown that humans and aliens can work together, even under pressure." Ethan nodded. "And I'll never forget it either. Thank you for trusting me." Before stepping out, Lyra gave him one last smile. It was warm, confident, and full of optimism. Ethan felt a surge of hope. With allies like her, the future was bright. As the door slid closed behind her, Ethan looked at the small token she had left. The light from it reflected on the walls, reminding him of the night's events. He smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The partnership had only just begun, and who knew what other adventures awaited them among the stars. Ethan returned to his desk, reviewing the stabilized energy system one last time. Everything was functioning perfectly. He could hear the colony settling into its nightly rhythm. The hum of energy systems now steady and reliable. A sense of calm washed over him. Though the night had been exhausting, it had also been inspiring. He realized that innovation was not just about technology, it was about people, or in this case, beings from different worlds, coming together with curiosity, courage, and trust. That was the true power of collaboration. He leaned back, closing his eyes briefly, thinking about Lyra and the work they had accomplished together. He knew that challenges would come again, there would always be systems to repair, crises to prevent. But he now understood that nothing was impossible when minds and hearts worked in unison. Outside, the stars twinkled in silence. Somewhere out there, Lyra's planet thrived because of their efforts, and the human colony was safer and stronger. Two worlds, so different, yet united through the efforts of two determined individuals. It was proof that even in a vast universe, friendship and collaboration could bridge any distance. Ethan smiled to himself, already thinking of future projects, improvements, and innovations. He knew that he and Lyra had only scratched the surface of what humans and aliens could achieve together. And with that thought, he felt a renewed excitement for what tomorrow might bring. For Ethan, the night had started with flickering lights and uncertainty, but it ended with hope, accomplishment, and the knowledge that cooperation between species, cultures, and minds was the greatest tool of all. And somewhere among the stars, Lyra was smiling too, knowing that their partnership had set a new standard for what humans and aliens could accomplish. The universe was vast, but together, they had proven that no challenge was too great when trust, creativity, and friendship guided the way.